Hello, John.
Hey, Alex.
Do you know what I hate?
What do you hate?
Walking Dead jokes.
Oh, why is that?
Where's the coral? Where's the coral?
Oh, boy.
Is that the worst opening we've ever done?
No, but it's close.
Damn. Because I was really thinking, I hit this one out of the park with like how fucking stupid that is.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. It was intensely stupid, and I'm very proud of you.
So anyway, we watched M. Night Shyamalan's Old, which has like one scene with coral.
Yeah, but enough to jump.
So this is the third time I've seen this movie. First time I watched it. Yes, because the first time I watched it by myself. Second time I watched it for the show. The first time we did this, and then the third time. No, there's my second time watching, other than the Phantom time that we watched together. Is this your second go round?
This is my second go round.
Okay. Were you infuriated by how many ham-fisted foreshadowings he had in the beginning of the movie?
Yeah, but I mean, it fits in. It fits in with a lot of my other problems with this movie. Where just like the dialogue is so clunky. Whether or not it's like, I get the themes. It's just, it's rough.
Yeah, but the opening parts where it's like, hey, don't lean over, child, because you'll get a hump on your back.
Right.
It's just like staring at the camera, screaming foreshadowing.
We don't have enough time. Huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, honey, I can't wait to hear your voice later. Your voice is going to be so beautiful when you're old. What I'm a big fan of in this movie as well is people just have like weird like accents that just kind of go, like flitter in and out, like Maddox. Multiple accents in the movie. And then also, we'll just get to it. This movie. I honestly thought it would be improved on the rewatch. And it got worse, which is like shocking to me.
I was willing to give it a lot of credit because like actual honest critics whose work I respect and appreciate go to bat for this movie. And I don't get it. I think there's some really, really neat ideas here. And I think there's some really cool concepts, but it wants to walk this tightrope between being this sort of more dreamy, just vague, like, oh, we're getting old, and what does that mean? And almost more emotional versus an explanatory, like, this is why it's happening, and this is who's responsible, and this is what's going on.
He's trying to do like an A24 thing, and he does not have the skill set for that.
Yeah.
So it's,
If this was a short, maybe. You know, like if this was a half-hour like episode of some anthology or something, you could have really sold this thing. But for the almost 2 hours, the hour 48 that it wants us to sit through this, it doesn't do it.
There are some spots that I truly love in this movie. And we'll get to them in somewhat kind of order. But the sheer amount of boring, and to your point, like the kind of tonal problem, this makes me think. Like, I might like the comic book it's from, where it's like, there's a lot of cool ideas. Because I was watching this and I found myself bored so many times that I was like, don't look at your phone. So I was just trying to think of like ways to improve the movie. And I was imagining a movie where this is done well, where it's just existential horror of growing old. That's it. No gimmicks, just like literally like, we're stuck on this beach and now we have to fast forward through the panic of middle age, puberty, etc., and just like watch that happen. And that would be really an interesting piece, so it's like, oh, thank you for reminding me of what could be good M. Night and then not delivering on it.
Or even opposite, and they touch on this a little bit, but like going full like Cronenberg body horror with just like your body doing weird things. And other than that one woman having bonitis, that would have been good.
This is, I think this is why I love you and why we've stayed together for so long.
The children.
Wild guess what I called her in my notes.
Bonitis.
A lady with bonitis. Yeah.
Because that's absolutely what it is.
Yes. But the Cronenberg style would be the way that I would like this movie to go. Because I think M. Night knows how to frame a shot. His movies are interesting. He's a very competent filmmaker. I wish he would make an R-rated full out, like I want him to make like a Takeshi Miike movie. Like I want him to go full fucking weird. Like the twist will be like, well, in the end, it turns out he was coming acid. Like we're just be weird as shit. But not this like whatever this is, PG or whatever. It's just it sits in this interim where this like this middle ground, and I don't like it.
Yeah, this is the first. No, I'm not a huge M. Night Shyamalan guy, and like we did watch Split, which we both enjoyed.
Debatably, we did.
Yes, that may or may not be true, but we did watch it or not.
Literally,
But,
you're
like-
talking early. Sorry, hold to that point because it's gonna be very, very quick. I've already twice had this thing of like having deja vu of the previous time we talked about this movie. I know. I'm not trying to convince you of this.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give you the full picture of my rapid deterioration. Also, I'm going to call you a racial slur and stab you with a knife in a bit.
That makes sense.
All right, sorry. Please continue your point.
But just like he's absolutely just leaned into like, yeah, I'm going to have a twist every movie. It seems like that this is what you expect of me, so fine. And I'd like him to stop doing that because I don't think the twists here helped much. It made it all just seem very neat at the end, and I didn't really enjoy that. Without getting too far into it, it's like I'm a big fan, or recently became a big fan of the Final Destination movies, because all that is basically, those movies are like, how do you escape death? And the end result is generally, well, you can't. And you can have these machinations, whatever, but it's gonna come and get you anyway. Whereas this one, it doesn't just go like, yeah, it's getting old and it happens to all of it. It's like, no, this is a specific thing that was that happened to these people. And that's a little bit less interesting than being a just overall metaphor for like getting old and all this stuff.
You know, those Final Destination movies, I haven't seen a lot of. I've seen it. I've seen the first one, I'm very sure. And I'm pretty sure I've seen like 1.5 more scattered across it.
The first 3 are a lot of fun. The first 3 are great, are good to watch. 4 and 5, not so much.
But I was driving home from Washington the other day because I was up there doing a disc golf thing. And I got stuck behind this big ass timber truck with like logs. And I went, nope. Like, I don't, like, I'm not even like fond of that movie. I mean, I liked it, but like I saw it whatever year it came out, never. But that shit is seared in my memory of like, nope, not doing it. Sorry. So I went like 85 past this fucking thing because I'm like, if I go slow, I'm just gonna be stuck back there. I'm flying. I don't care if I get a ticket. I'm not falling for the shit.
I had the same thing. I was visiting my family in Michigan, and we stayed at a lake house that was some like 3 hours away from where they live, and driving, and it's raining and I can't see anything, but I'm like, at least there are no timber trucks.
Fuck yeah. Now, while you're at the lake house, did you fall in some kind of like time travel love?
With myself.
Remember when we did that episode of the lake house?
I do. Well, we haven't yet. We've just listened to the episode. They sent it back through a mailbox.
Yes.
So we knew what to say. I've not seen that movie. I don't know what goes on.
You know, it'd be you pretty much got it. Your joke works perfect in the context of the film. Let's say we get an email. No, we wouldn't open that. Let's say we get actual mail and an MP3 player. Well, because if you get an email with an attachment from someone you don't know, you're not gonna open that shit.
Right.
So like they send it, and it's like an MP3 player, so you don't even have to like put it on your computer. And we hit play. We live together in this scenario, and it's hey John, I'm Alex, and this is the opening of the show, and it's an episode we haven't done yet. That it's us from the future sending back episodes.
Yeah.
Do you listen to the whole thing? Because I think I'd probably turn it off about 10 minutes in.
No, I wouldn't listen. I just be like, hey, we got like, we don't have to record anything for a while. Someone else did it for us.
Oh, this would be the greatest bootstrap paradox ever.
Yeah.
Just Future Us sent us all the episodes so we don't have to do them.
But that's why Future Us would never do it, because they know how lazy Current Us is.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Damn Future Us.
And I hate those guys.
Fucking jerks. They're not cool like old ones. It's so hard to talk about this movie because there's like everything just goes back to the end of it being so stupid. Oh yeah, that's what I want to follow up with you. What do you think the twist in this movie is?
I think the twist is supposed to be the reasoning behind it, because that's something that's not that's not in the original book. The reason for why this happened to them, and then their subsequent dealings with that.
Okay, so the problem with media, you're right, as in the movie in a vacuum, but because this movie got memed on so hard when it came out, my question is, when he made the movie, was the beach making you old supposed to be kind of a twist, like is it or a big reveal? But like. This movie immediately became a meme of the beach that makes you old. That there was no way to see this without knowing that beforehand.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that. Like you said, that you were saying, just in terms of looking stuff up about it, it's hard because it's just called Old. But like, if you had called it something else in your and the poster, which I don't honestly like mind the poster, the woman with the legs and gradually getting old on one side and the bones. But like, it's such a giveaway of what's happening that mystery of the people figuring it out isn't that exciting. You're like, yeah, it's the beach that makes you old.
It's well established.
I get it. But I mean, it's not that much of the movie, but I think some of the stuff that they tried to do would have been a little bit more interesting had I not actually known.
Yeah.
You know, if you're able to go into this somehow as cold as possible and not paying attention to anything about it, that might work a little bit better. But
I mean, I don't even know if it would work better. It certainly would keep my interest a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it would be pretty quick that you'd figure out they're getting older.
Yeah. And I honestly like the way they deal with some of that. Like, I like the way they deal with like the kid reveals as they get older, and
100%.
Some of that stuff is really effectively done. But I don't care about anyone. And some of that's, like I said earlier, that clunky dialogue and just the really like ham-fisted exposition. Like the thing of having the little kid. First of all, I hate movies where like little kids talk like adults. I generally, that's not a thing I'm a fan of. And
I'm generally arguing with you when you bring this up because I like spunky kids that like talk like old, but this movie does it way too much. And I have a quote from, this is, I think, the first line of the movie.
Yeah.
Or second or so. Little Maddox is singing, and then the mom says, "Oh, I'd love to hear you sing more. You're sorry, I'm not doing an insulting accent. I should be, but your voice is going to be so beautiful when you get old." And the little kid goes, "Well, it's over now. It's been stripped of its spontaneity."
Yeah.
I mean, I get you're trying to be precocious or whatever. Maybe you're trying to explain away how they're fully competent adults with the mind of a 6-year-old. Either way, I don't like it. This is not like, it's not for this movie. Spunky kid that uses polysyllabic words, that's for a much funnier movie.
Yeah,
and he's got to be fat. You're not allowed to have, allowed to have svelte kids that have big words. It's got to be a fat kid. It's got to be like Data from that what was his name? Podcast from that Ghostbusters movie we did.
Well, and then like the thing where he's going around and he's like, "Hi, we're asking people their names and occupations just for plot reasons." And it's like, okay. That felt really stupid. And I hate that little wiener kid that hangs out with him. Looks like he's smelling fried bologna all the time. Don't like him. He just always looks like the little kid who lives at the resort.
The one that makes the codes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was fucking stupid. That reveal. But just at the end when they show back up and he's just looking at him and his face looks disappointed. And it's like, yeah, I agree with you, kid. This sucks.
Yeah. Okay. So a family arrives on this beautiful resort, and they're welcomed, and it's great. And it's like, hey, it turns out we found this. I don't even know how I found it. It's cheap or whatever. This is like one last hurrah with the family before they go through a divorce. A dad who is kind of attractive, swarthy kind of fellow, and the mom's got like a francophone kind of sexy 20s thing, and they have no charisma together in any universe, and there's no chemistry, and it's not like we're getting divorced, so we've got a fight. There's no fight. There's no love. It is the most two actors on a bed together I've ever seen.
It's not until their very last moments together where it actually felt something between them. But that first bits were that, and some of that, like I said, is the dialogue and whatever. But they're both individually very charming people. Gael Garcia Bernal is Guy, and Vicky Krieps is Priska. Amazingly charming people on their own, but like together it was just like, yeah, get a divorce. This isn't working.
I like them both. It's just casting, no, it's not even casting wise. I'm sure they could have generated chemistry if they weren't giving the worst dialogue, which is amazing to me because like I just rewatched The Sixth Sense not that long ago, like probably this year. And the dialogue's good. I mean, it's not like you shouldn't win an award for dialogue, but it is 100% functional. That's what humans would say dialogue. Yeah. And at some point, M. Night just turned into like this, like, I don't know, like he just forgot how humans talk. Like something went wrong in his brain.
Yeah. Well, I was also thinking about that because like how part of the appeal of that movie was such like its emotional core. Like, yeah, it was this like ghost story and the twist or whatever. But part of the reason you bought into it so much was that there was like emotions involved and stuff like that. And this attempts to have that, but it's also so overstuffed with people that it gets lost in the shuffle of like these big things happen and you're like, oh, okay. I can't absorb the horror of this because I've moved on to this now. And I think a little bit like winnowing down of some of that would have been a lot better because like if you start to think about the daughter of the other couple, Kara, and just how horrifying her whole experience is, you don't have time to. because you're already on to the next thing.
So what I
and also the way they kind of structure that is bizarre, but we'll get to that.
well, this goes back to the thing we were talking about before of like either make it A24 or make it like, you know, a Sam Raimi thing. Is having that many people, you can't do the emotional beats. So you can't go A24, but you need that many people to do the horror stuff, to kill people in interesting ways. So like he just didn't choose which way he wants the movie to go. The other, it's kind of referenced in the film, Mid-Size Sedan, the fellow they meet on the beach.
That is such a middle-aged man's idea of a rapper name. It's ridiculous.
You were so right, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to forget how much I hate that name, because I've made fun of it since I watched this movie, and I need to do it into a microphone. I mean, that's it. That's the whole make fun of. It's really stupid. But I guess they sort of reference it, but like his whole character is a joke that black don't crack. Like that's the whole joke, right? Because he's a full-ass adult that's been on the beach because it's either that or the biggest plot hole in the universe, because he was on the beach for hours before they arrived.
Isn't there like a whole thing with like the sun or something as well? I thought that was the deal where he was like
protected was there a sun component?
I don't remember. Because I think that was supposed to be like the deal. That's why he wasn't as hurt as bad. Or he just got there earlier that morning.
But still, they were saying it's 20 minutes is a year.
Yeah.
So if he's there that morning, he should be at least 50. I mean, I'm making that number up, but like he wouldn't be a, what's he, 27, you know, like he would, or 22, like he wouldn't be like a ripped, you know, DJ or rapper guy. Like he would start to be middle-aged.
Yeah.
He might be in good shape. You know, I saw Melly Mel the other day in a picture, and the guy's fucking shredded, and he's got to be 60.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the same way that they're able to just explain away other things, which I don't necessarily mind. I should say I wouldn't have minded as much. Like if they're like, the hair and nails don't grow because they're dead cells. So that's not going to, don't worry about it. It only happens to live stuff, which fine, whatever. Hand wave that away. That's fine. But it's when you're trying to explain everything else and then you kind of have this other stuff that I get a little bit less interested. Yeah. You're just trying to set up all these rules around magic and it's annoying.
Well, that's the other problem with this, with like tonally, where they try to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I like the sequence. Oh, anyway, yada yada. They go to a beach. They get M. Night Shyamalan drives them to the beach. The beach turns you old. So while they're on the beach, just to keep the audience up, because I listen to a lot of podcasts about movies that I don't watch the movie. So at least they're like, no, hey, they go on vacation. They get tricked into a beach. When they're on the beach, when they're having the argument of like what the hell's happening, and he's doing quick cuts and he goes back to Rufus Sewell being like, there's a movie with Jack Nicholson and what was it, Marlon Brando? Is that who he was trying to remember? And he's doing it like these weird close-ups and is really uncomfortable. And it's like, oh, this would be a cool movie, but you just kind of forgot that, because that started to get panicky and claustrophobic, and then it just went back to long shots of a beach. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, there were some interesting things that I can't determine whether or not I like. I think that's like there's a moment where they're trying to figure out what's going on, and the camera is panning around, but it's not sticking with who's ever talking. It's just going in a circle. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of not loving this, but at the same time, like you said, I could see it's making me feel uncomfortable. It's putting me in that same position. Okay, I kind of see what's going on here. But then there's a little bit later when there's the whole like tumor removal scene, and the camera's just focused on this thing in the clouds. I'm like, what's supposed to be happening here?
Oh, that was dumb. Yeah.
Like, am I supposed to be from her point of view? What's going on? I don't know. It got to the point where it was more distracting. It took me out of it than being effective.
No, it was more this quick cut, like claustrophobic bits. Mm-hmm. That was a weird one. Yeah, there was one where the grandma died, and the grandma dying just takes up screen time. Like that skinny lady was only there as either an advertisement for beef jerky or because they thought of that idea to get the bonitis. Because she does nothing. Like she's just there to be killed later.
Right.
Which, I mean, I guess, which would be fine if he turned into The Skid and just did this is a traditional horror movie. Instead of Jason or Freddy, there is a beach. You know?
Right. Well, yeah. And I think, I think it's supposed to be, the physical ravages of age and what we try to do to prevent it and how it's going to get you no matter what. Sure. But it's just, she wasn't enough of a character to make that trip worthwhile.
No. And she looked unhealthy going there. And I know everybody's got like a disease or whatever, but like she was way, way, way too thin and like super tanned, which I'm not dunking on the actress here. I just mean that's a choice in the movie, like to portray her in that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an intro. Like you would think she would be melanoma or some kind of anorexic thing. Just the bone. I don't know. I'm trying to. I don't know why I want to like movies so much, but like it bothers me because it's like he's got all the bits and pieces of something that could have been a cool movie, and then he just made this thing.
We've talked about it before. That's the most frustrating kind of movie.
Wait, we've talked before?
Yes, we've done one other episode.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, yeah. I think I kind of remember that one. Was that Dark City?
It was Dark City.
Yeah, with Rufus Sewell.
Rufus Sewell.
Rufus Sewell.
Like you want to have conflict beyond just the family dealing with it. I get it, and so that's why Rufus Sewell's in there at all. Some of the stuff I don't know if even if Rufus Sewell's family was a little bit more like pared down, it just felt like they were just trying to throw so much stuff at it.
Well, 100%. Yeah.
What if aging makes you do this? Which it's weird because Rufus Sewell, we found out he's a doctor. And so when all this stuff starts happening, they're really like turning to him as an expert on stuff. But he also is already starting to kind of show that he's kind of racist. When they see mid-sized sedan, he immediately doesn't trust him because they find a dead body as well. And like that could be a very interesting setup of like, oh, they're on this beach now and there's this guy there in a dead body, but you kind of already know what's happening. Like I said, you've seen the poster and you've seen whatever. Yeah. So that like red herring doesn't really matter. And it's fine. And it's not like they spend a ton of time with it, but it still is just like, man, this could have been effective.
On that note, I don't know if this is what Shyamalan was trying to do, but the way I was reading it, this actually was a more interesting character beat that I wish they'd hung out in. If it does exist, it probably doesn't. I'm just probably trying to like something. But what I thought, the way that I was reading Rufus Sewell's character, I gave him a backstory. He was a young thuggy kid, or whatever you call like a street smart kid in London.
He was one of the dead end kids.
Yeah, he was a dead end kid. He used to mix it up with other races, you know, like he used to be like a bit racist. He used to be some stabby, but he worked his way out of whatever you call a ghetto in London to become a very famous thoracic and whatever surgeon, and got past his racist roots. But because his dementia is in like hyper mode now, because they went on vacation, they're referencing that his brain's starting to go, that he's like having dementia, is that what he's doing, like much with a lot of patients with dementia, will revert back to their younger self. So it's not actually like, which I know I'm reading too much into it, but that would be such an interesting story of you're losing yourself so badly that these things that you've gotten over from when you were young are now returning, so much to the point that you stab a world famous rapper mid-sized sedan.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So his whole thing is he starts slipping and forgetting things or whatever, but then he also becomes violent and fueled by his racist opinion of mid-sized sedan, ends up stabbing and killing him. So already you have like this, and maybe it's just what scares me or is my own existential crisis about getting old, is that like, so you have this guy who's completely just lost the plot. Like his mind is gone now. And then you have the kids are already starting to get older and changes are starting to happen there and weird things are going on there. And then, oh no, guy is losing his eyesight. Okay. That's just, or like when she starts to get deaf, it's like, yeah, that's a bummer. That doesn't really seem like that big of a deal compared to what everything else that's going on.
Thankfully, that's a little bit later in the movie. That's not as annoying, but you're 100% right. It's, yeah.
I mean, I understand like it that feeds into their sort of gradual acceptance of things, like towards the end. Although some of that doesn't seem like acceptance, is more just they've forgotten what's happening. When it was happening, it just felt like I'm supposed to care about this now. This okay?
Yeah. It's also so very quickly. I have a friend who has a bad ear. He's not deaf in that ear, but he has a bad ear. And what we do when we go and hang out, we usually sit at a bar, is we make sure that I'm on the side of him that has his good ear. Those two fucking idiots were sitting on the wrong side of each other, the couple, because she's deaf in one ear, and that deaf ear is on the side of her husband. That, I know it's small, but that goes against the entire fucking character arc they're supposed to be on. That they're supposed to be getting close to each other, not, oh no, I can just ignore him better because my brain's dying.
It's like, I think I've told this story before. I my roommate in college, when he would go visit his grandparents, his grandpa would put in his hearing aid. And it's like, the rest of the time, I don't need it. I don't care what she has to say, but my family's coming. Boop, I'm interested.
Obviously, I don't know any of these people, but I bet that grandpa refers to his wife as the old ball and chain.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The other thing in the beginning of this movie that I didn't want to skip over is, I feel so bad for the actress that plays the MS patient that mid-sized sedan was flirting with. Her entire role was get naked, die. Like,
that's Hollywood, baby.
Literally, it's side boob, full ass, and that's it. Like, I mean, probably great for her, but since it's not speaking, she's probably not getting any kind of good residuals.
Oh, yeah.
And like her entire role is just like tits and ass that walks into the ocean, and not even like a cool horror movie way. It's in some bullshit PG movie that it's I felt bad for that lady. I mean, whatever. She probably she got money. I mean, I shouldn't feel that bad, but it just. I don't know. I don't know anything about her, but like she deserves better.
Yes, I hope there are better roles for her in the future.
Yeah.
Unless she's just like, no, I'm a butt model. This is my thing.
Yeah, or maybe she's like, she had a bunch of dialogue and she was so shitty. But even M. Night could be like,
this beach that's making us turn old.
Yeah. I gotta go swimming over there using backstroke. She turned into like the mom from the whatever. Let's talk about the movie Old. So, John, we've done this movie twice now.
Mm-hmm.
I had a whole bit plan that I decided I didn't want to commit to, that I would just keep repeating shit I said for about 5 minutes before, just to see how long it would take for you to catch on. But I was like, I don't waste your time with that shit. So, audience at home, that's the funny thing I was thinking about doing.
Speaking of actors in this movie, though, and this is through no fault of his own. I'm always a fan of seeing Ken Leung, if I'm saying his name right. He was the nurse.
That's
Jaren.
Miles from Lost.
It's Miles from Lost. And so immediately I'm like, this guy on a beach. Like, okay, what's going on?
He's got real bad luck on beaches.
You should just stay away. No, all the actors in this movie are generally like good actors. Like I was excited to see Alex Wolff, who's in Hereditary, as like a
that's right.
Yeah. I like.
I know I recognize that dude.
And I don't hate Thomas and Mackenzie, but it was nice to see her not sound like a anthropomorphic woodchuck like she did in Last Night in Soho. She just had this sort of voice. I'm so British and tiny.
That's a good description, and now that I understand it. In my head, woodchucks are a little more slow.
I should have
Southern.
said like squirrel or something.
No, yours works. I get it now.
Hedgehog.
Yeah, but like it's all right. So yeah, let's go back to that. So Rufus Sewell is honestly one of my favorite actors, and I think he's doing really good work in this movie. Besides the movie, he was in Dark City, which is one of my favorite underrated sci-fi movies, and he was I think Obergrussenhaul or whatever the fuck it was in Man in the High Castle. He was like a top Nazi officer, and he's really fucking good in it. It's not even that great of a show, but man, that guy is good in it. He's got a really good like banality of evil vibe to him. That's really it's super good. Yeah.
He's in Knight's Tale. He was fun in that.
Yeah. Oh wait, did I? Oh yeah, and Knight's Tale. Have we drooled on Midsize Sedan? Was that off the show or on the show?
That was off mic. That was in our hot dudes chat.
Yeah. But what a shock! Alex finds a young hunky guy hunky.
Wow.
But
what?
Midsize Sedan is played by is Aaron Pierre. And it's honestly, this isn't even like a judging him by looks. He just has really good screen presence. Like he carries the camera well. And John and I, before the show started, I was like, man, I really hope he shows up in a movie that's good. Cause like, I would love to see him be an actor, you know, like that's not an M. Night movie. He's in some, mini series right now. Apparently he was in that weird Krypton mini series that was out for a couple of years that no one watched.
Yeah,
I think it took place on Krypton, like before they like. It's just called Krypton. I probably could have guessed that. Yeah, it's one of those the many DC projects that died very quickly. No one remembers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what else I like this movie acting wise? That guy that plays the bus driver. I mean, he's real good. He is a natural. Yeah, what a great thing.
He was no Midsize Sedan.
Midsize Sedan is such a bad fucking name. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's like if you're trying to be like funny about it, like this isn't the movie for that. Like this isn't as campy or as tongue in cheek as that name would call for. Like no self-respect. I mean, you could say what you want about someone named Lil Yachty or something like that. No one's going to call themselves Midsize Sedan. Like that's not.
I mean, now that you say there's someone called Lil Yachty, Midsize Sedan doesn't sound all that weird anymore.
Lil Yachty, that's such a cooler sounding name than Midsize Sedan. That's like naming yourself Shasta versus naming yourself Orange Drink.
I mean, that's a good point, but you ever gone about 85 miles per hour at a Sentra SV?
I have not. Because
man, yeah, if you've ever felt smoothness, you've never felt smoothness like this. Because man, you are going down that highway.
Life is a highway, some would say.
You know what's great about that is I just named the car I have because I actually literally don't know what a midsize sedan is. I'm like, I think my car is a sedan, so I'm just going to say the one I have.
Yeah, that's going to work. That works for me. We're car guys. We're cool car guys.
Yeah. But can we be like Skeet and Eat or whatever the fucking, remember the car guy show? What are their names?
Skeet and Eat?
Mike and Ike? What's their name?
That's the sex tourism show. You're talking about Click and Clack.
Wait, dude, I get laughing at me here, but Click and Clack is actually dumber than what I brought up.
That is absolutely not. Click and Clack is a great name compared to Skeet and Eat.
Click and Clack?
Click and Clack. Yeah, the Tapper brothers.
Oh, now that I know their last name is Tapper, that's actually much better.
I mean, that weren't their like birth names, but they just would call themselves that.
Oh, okay. Well, now it's not nearly as good. Oh, you know the other thing I liked about this? The effect when they are trying to establish that they can't leave. Because that's such a hard thing to like. I was just trying to put it in my head of like trying to describe that visually. Like, how would you film that? It's actually kind of well done. It's just like you get super dizzy and weird, and it's like he even says like, "Oh, it feels like super underwater." But then you just wake up on the beach. It's not like you didn't walk out of the beach; you're just there. And I don't know. I thought that was like a good way to describe something impossible to do. You know?
Yeah. Well, there was, and then like it uses some old timey, or now old timey film tricks, like the Jaws shot. I don't know what you call that, where it's like the background zooming out, but the foreground is zooming in. It's famous for this shot of Roy Scheider in Jaws.
Oh, yeah.
But it does that as you hit the wall. And,
that's called Bruce the Shark is what you're thinking of.
Oh, Bruce the Shark is the move.
Yeah.
But that then just cutting and going, it wasn't anything like super fancy, but it was very effective at what it was trying to get done. Yeah, it's not, this isn't like incompetently made. It's just, well, perhaps some of the dialogue, but otherwise that's what makes it even more frustrating. So we mentioned that like things are happening to the kids. They can't leave the beach. Things are happening to the kids. The hotel that had told them, they're like, hey, the concierge at the hotel's like, I only tell this to like my favorite clients, and I liked your faces. We got this secret getaway. You should go there. That's how they end up there. And M. Night Shyamalan plays the guy that takes them there. And he's like, just give me a call, or I'll be back at 5 to come get you. And he loads them up with food. And when you find out the reason that he does that is because the kids are growing at this incredible rate. And so they will need to eat a lot more. The adults, not so much, because their bodies aren't changing in the same way. They're not growing. They're not expanding. They're just aging. And so the kids are chowing down.
That still doesn't make sense, but that is what happens in the movie.
That is what happens. Yeah. And so, yeah, like all of a sudden, the child at the beginning is now Thomasin McKenzie. She's now 16. And even though she's like 12 when the movie starts, or the kid is now Alex Wolff when he was a child. And the way they kind of delay those reveals, all right. But I kind of wish they would have spent a little bit more time with that, because when you think about what an insane time puberty is, and like that age, or those ages, I should say, and like to have that all compressed into just a microsecond, just like this micro amount of time. How would they not like go insane? Just like hormones just exploding their brains.
That's the A24 version that we were talking about. Like that, I would love to have that be explored. What would it be? And also, and this is one of my, because a lot of stuff we've been like kind of bitching about is, I think, somewhat not forgivable, but like if there weren't fundamental issues, I could kind of view them like with less severely. But with them aging, this is my number one gripe with the film. Is that, yes, I know they established they're kind of good at talking for being young, but like when they're 16, they talk like 16-year-olds. When they're 40, they talk like 40-year-olds. It's not, they have no life experience for that. They should be 6 and 11 or whatever their ages are mentally. And he doesn't even make a whiff of, he goes, at one point they talk and he goes, yesterday my colors were more vibrant and fewer, but today I've got like more colors in my head and my thoughts are, and that's actually somewhat of an interesting concept, but that was the entire time we explored it. That I think maybe I took longer saying that than the movie spent on it. And I can't forgive.
I do think Thomasin McKenzie does a good job of still bringing that like childishness to the
Hers
role.
Is not the one that really bothers me. It's the last one where they're 40 or whatever, or 50. Thomasin, I think did as well as you can with the script in front of her. But even that, it's just it's not good. But the adult one is just fucking impossible. The guy is worse though, because the guy's like, "What would you do if somebody called you and said your 6-year-old nephew is now a 50-year-old?" You don't understand being wry when you're 6.
Yeah,
you
I just
winky
spent a week
wry statement.
hanging out with a 6-year-old. That's not happening. That kind of wryness is not happening. So out of this rapid aging and the stabbing that's happening, they take Rufus Sewell's daughter, Kara, and to try to calm her down from that, Trent and Kara go into this tent and they're comforting each other.
Wait, sorry, which one's...
Trent is the boy. Kara is the daughter of Bonitis and Rufus Sewell. Anyway, so they end up like hormones being hormones. They end up having sex and they come out and it's revealed that she's pregnant now. And they're all like, oh my God, what's going on? The kids don't fully understand it. At one point, he has a line of like, I thought you had to do it like 10 times before that happened. Was I wrong about that? And then she ends up giving birth to the baby like immediately because the way time flows on this beach. And the baby I should be laughing about that baby, but the baby just is born, like apparently just looks around and goes, nope, and dies.
Sorry, I need to find my quote on this. Okay, so he died from lack of attention.
Yeah.
I only put him down on the blanket for a minute. So they're saying the baby, I'm not laughing at a dead baby. I'm laughing at the fucking stupidity of this movie.
Yeah.
He died from lack of attention. I hate this movie, but I'm in like a Stockholm syndrome with it. Cause like there's so much stuff I like in it that I'm like, maybe if he stops hitting me, he'll actually love me again. Like,
right.
It's so fucking bad. Cause that pregnancy part should be one of the coolest things I've ever seen in film. Like a 6-year-old turning into a pubescent person, having a baby, and then it dying. That should be like that should be a whole ass movie. Like,
right.
But it's 4 minutes in this stupid fucking thing.
Right. And it's on to the next thing, and it's on to the next thing. And in fact, in the book, the baby doesn't die. I read, but and it's the same.
Is the book looked warmly upon? I was kind of curious about it.
I think so. Well, certainly by M. Night Shyamalan, because he was like, it changed my life, so I had to make this movie and make the book worse.
Yeah, maybe I won't read it. Maybe I'll go back in time and kill that guy then.
But eventually they figure out, well, we got to try to get away from this. The nurse, the guy from Lost,
Miles
is like,
from Lost.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I'm going to try to swim out and like off to the side, and he doesn't. He drowns. And as we said, you can't exit the little cove that brought you in. So they're like, what if we tried to climb the rocks? A little girl, Kara, the recent mom, just like, well, fuck it, I'm leaving, and tries to climb the walls, and of course doesn't make it. Like it's the cliff face is so sheer, and she gets tired or something, and so she falls off and dies. And it's like what I was saying earlier, like her life is just been trauma after trauma after trauma. There's just no real time spent absorbing that. We're more concerned that Guy has lost his sight, you know. And I'm like, to me is much less of an interesting thing than whatever happened to this person.
The only arc that I enjoy is Rufus Sewell's arc. That watching his mental state deteriorate, like watching him get violent, like that made sense to me. I wish that they had taken the care that they gave him to a couple of the other characters and obviously wiped some of the characters because there's way too many.
Yeah, like Midnight Sedan didn't need to be there. At no point did Midnight Sedan need to be there. I mean, like it needs to be an outlet for him to be like angry and racist at, but if you just turn that outlet into something else, you know, to one of the other characters, like I don't like Spaniards or something.
I'm fine with Midnight Sedan being there. I'm actually kind of good with.
You think he's a hunk?
Yes, but even if he was an Uggo, Miles from Lost and his wife, the seizure lady, served no purpose other than to say the shit that somebody next to them could say. They're a nothing character between the two of them. You could have easily gotten 5 minutes more of this movie dealing with character growth if those two weren't there. And they don't. I like that actor, and the actress is fine too. It just. Actually, that actress was, I can't remember what she was in, but she was in something I really liked, but maybe like a Doctor Who or something, but they don't need to be there. It's just extraneous. Like, get rid of them, get rid of the grandma, maybe get rid of like beef jerky lady, and this movie, nice tight. Let's get it going.
She was in fact in a Doctor Who, but you know what you probably really liked her from was Jupiter Ascending as Diamica.
Jupiter Ascending. Was that the one with Mila Kunis, or is that the one with the lady with the weird face and the guy with the weird forehead?
Ooh, now it's the Mila Kunis one, but I want to try to figure out what the hell that other one is.
Valerian and the Edge of Tomorrow and the City of Forever. Yeah.
The weird forehead.
Well, the lady has got like a weird face.
Well, she's got crazy eyebrows. That's her whole thing.
Oh, that's right. She's got crazy eyebrows, and the other guy's got like a weird like brick forehead, doesn't he? Like
I don't remember. I just remember him being boring and sucking. Apparently, he's in Oppenheimer, but I don't know. Dane DeHaan.
Yeah, those two movies, and I'm not blaming this on my deteriorating mental state. When I was 21 and had the crispest mind that I'm ever going to have, I would confuse those movies instantly because they're the same fucking movie.
They just don't.
And
they're
like,
not worth
I love Fifth
about.
Element. I'm going to throw Fifth Element in there too. Like, it's the same. If I'd seen them in the same year for the first time, there's no fucking way I could ever pluck the strings to make those differentiate.
To go back to your point, though, is that the Jaren's wife, the Patricia that had the seizures, she's so vital to the ending, and it's so important. So what ends up happening, just we'll fast forward to this crap. So it becomes night. A lot of people have died. Abby Lee, we found out she has some sort of calcium deficiency. And she like runs off because her makeup she's aging and she hates it and she's trying to hide. So she doesn't even see her daughter die.
Oh, well, there was a brutal Rufus Sewell line that makes her run off because he looks at her in a moment of like vague lucidity and he's like, put some makeup on your face, which is fucking brutal. I love that guy.
Yeah. And she goes running off, and then like later they find her in a cage and her calcium thing has gone crazy and her bones are all twisting around. And it is literally how the guy in Futurama that has bonitis dies. It is the exact same thing. And I understand not everyone has seen every show or everything, but like I can't believe no one just went, this is the bonitis guy.
Yeah, M. Night. Okay, but on that note, there is nothing funnier in any comedy that's ever been made ever that when Beef Jerky Lady starts giving the story about, I used to date a guy, his name was Giuseppe.
Giuseppe,
the ugly guy. And then 2 seconds later, she dies of bonitis. This is an episode of Futurama for about 2.5 minutes. Giuseppe, the ugly guy.
There are elements in here that, again, like if you went campier with it, are amazing because that, like, out of all the names you could have chosen for this is Giuseppe. And it's just so out there. It could have been anything. It didn't have to be like, well, his name's not American enough. But Giuseppe just rings so like, goofy.
Giuseppe is an organ grinder name. Like it's like
it was just such a weird choice. But yeah, so she dies, and then.
Sorry. Before you get on to the next point, we've already talked about all the points around this, but I have a good joke in here that there's no other way for me to do it. So at one point they're walking down the beach, and then one person says to the other, and when there was only one footprint instead of footprints, what was happening there, Lord? Well, that's because the other person died of bonitis. This is a good joke I wrote earlier that I forgot happened. It was like, oh, good one, Alex. Unfortunately, we've already established all those facts, and I can't ham-fist that one in. So I literally...
Yeah. You just got to M. Night Shyamalan that thing in.
You're bitching about how... Not bitching. You were correctly saying this movie about how his eyes go bad. That actor doesn't know that people with bad eyesight squint.
Yeah.
And because he sees Rufus Sewell coming up to him on the beach and he just stares. Yeah. There's no eye movement.
Yeah.
He doesn't squint. It's like, I guess he has perfect eyesight because like, we all do, everybody with glasses 100% understands. Maybe people without glasses, I don't know. But I know me as a glasses wearer, you squint, and it was fucking embarrassing. Because he had another really embarrassing acting moment too, which I don't think that guy's that bad. But when Rufus Sewell is stabbing, I forget one of the times he's stabbing him, he's getting like 3 stabs in. Beat. He's got a knife.
Wait a minute. Well, he can't see it.
No, this is before his eyesight went bad. It's so fucking.
Oh my God! He's stabbing, M. Night or Midnight Sedan.
Yeah, M. Night Sedan.
So yeah, his eyesight's going. Vicky Krieps, her hearing is going, and they have this moment on the beach. They're kind of. It seems like they're kind of resigned to the fate because he tells her the story of like, we knew their marriage was deteriorating, and he's like, hey, I saw your emails. He mentions that he knows that she was cheating on him, and he's like, that guy, that's all that's reference to. He's like, that guy sucks. It could have been someone else, but it's that guy that sucks.
Yeah.
There's just, okay.
Oh.
But he's like, but I forgive you. And she's like, there's nowhere else I want to be. So they kind of like make up, and it's like, oh, life's too short. Why get mad? Why get hung up on that stuff, baby?
I actually took it the other way, is that they were so ancient that their brain stopped working.
But that's the thing.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah, is that like then it becomes that like, no, you've just forgotten. So even that sort of that quiet resigning that might make a beautiful moment is really just, I don't know what's going on anymore. Bye, everybody. which could work in a horror movie, but I feel like it's sold a little bit more like a touching moment. Like it's sold a bit more. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to just like waver here, because you could argue that there's a way to do that's indeed what the characters believe. You know what I mean? That like
no, I understand. Yeah.
But it's not.
This movie didn't do
well.
that.
Yeah.
Real quick, again, everything in this movie I like involves River Sewell. She stabs him with a rusty knife, and you watch like the tetanus or whatever it is, like start like that was cool. And
that
again,
was very cool.
If we could just do the whole movie like that, I'm there for it. That would be neat. But I am doing a thing where, back when I had my other podcast, the Alex Cast, I had a rule that said, warts and all, I would tell you everything, audience. I'm going to bare my soul to you. I'm about to bare my soul to you, John. They're old. His eyes are gone. One of her ears is gone. And Maddox has a little bit of a singing session to her mom.
Mm-hmm.
I literally got a little teary. It honestly kind of pulled my heart. Yeah, but I got teary at old by It made me feel bad.
There's a bit in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective that gives me goosebumps every time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What part? I'm very curious.
That's the secret. Tune into the Patreon episode for that one.
Yeah.
But no, that is a legitimate thing that happens to me. So I get it. Yeah, it's just there are moments that still work. Like I said, this isn't a completely incompetently made movie.
Yeah.
But then so this is what's galling is that we kind of left over when they're at the resort earlier, there's this young boy there, Trent befriends, and he's like, yeah, my uncle like works here, so I'm here all the time or whatever. And I don't really have friends. And Trent's like, hey, you can be my friend. And so they're playing and they make a fun like codes for each other to crack. And then the next morning, after everyone on the beach has died, it's just Trent and Maddox, the two kids left. Trent's like, oh, hey, I remembered there's a code I forgot to crack. That he left me this code. And the code basically says like, swim out through the coral.
Coral? Where's coral?
Which I don't
remember how we opened the episode?
Yeah. I was trying to forget it. Idlib is this kid's name. And yeah, he's like, whatever the secret message was. Yeah.
Idlib? Is that really his name?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Apologies to people out there if that's a legitimate name in your country of origin. It's just him doing code words and his name is essentially Madlib. Made me really laugh right there.
His name is Enigma.
Yeah, exactly. And he likes
the origin story. Is he got traumatized by not having any friends that were killed by the beast that was old. It makes you old. But yeah, so like it's this. The secret message is basically just like, oh well, to get out you have to swim through this coral passage, and they're like, okay, well, we can leave if we swim through the coral passage, we'll be safe. Which, if you're 6, makes total sense. You know, and again, for the logic of this movie, sure, why not? And they do
sort of. Wait, before we get to that,
yeah.
Before they go into the coral passage, they say, hey, let's make a sandcastle together. Like, have fun on the beach one last time. They're full-ass adults in their speech and action established already. They know that every 20 minutes is a year. This is incompatible with itself. You cannot have this. You can't have them be 6. You can have them be wistfully looking back on their childhood at the end of the movie after they leave. Like they get dropped off on Oahu and they're like, hey, why don't we make a sandcastle before we go to Aunt Janice's? That would make sense. Doing it before they swim through the magic coral. No. Sorry, I fucking hate so much of this movie. It really bothers me.
I mean, I could see, again, like trying to go for this emotional thing, but like because you're past that now. That moment's happened and now you're in like, oh, I have the secret key out of here. Now we're in thriller mode. Now we're figuring it out. This is a more by the numbers kind of thing. So they swim through the coral, and oh my God, Maddox's some piece of fabric gets caught on some coral.
Hey, wait, John. Can we?
Yeah.
This is my other opening that I had that I decided was stupid. Hey, John, you know what I hate?
What's that?
Where I'm wearing a flowing diaphanous top while swimming through easily catchable coral.
Mm-hmm. Now they are still dumb kids. They don't have life experience.
They're not. The mom has a whole conversation with how she cucked her dad in front of her via text message. She talked to her 6-year-old / 18-year-old and had a full ass fucking conversation. And Maddox was like, I just need time to really process this and understand. I mean this in like a Jungian sense. It's interesting. I was at my therapist the other day. Like,
but that's, there you go. That's right there. That's theory versus practice. They have no real world experience. That's why art schools need to be closed down.
Everything you say reminds me of something else that I hate about this movie.
There's a lot too. Anyway, but then it turns out that the whole people that have been behind this, they keep seeing what they think is a camera in the distance. And yep, it's a camera. It's M. Night Shyamalan taking pictures of them. And then he's like, yeah, they're all dead. Turns out it's a pharmaceutical company. It's running this fake resort to get people. They're testing out their drugs on different things. And then that way they can see the expedited time and the effects. And they're really excited because, well, okay, so everyone died, whoops. But the one lady that had seizures, we gave her secret medicine and she didn't have seizures for what the equivalent would be about 16 years. So we essentially cured epilepsy. Hooray us. And what I love about this scene is this is one of those where concierge or whatever, the guy at the resort that told him about the speech in the first place, is talking to the staff at the lab and is basically explaining their jobs to them. Because he's because he has to let the audience know what's going on. But he's like, so it's bad that we murder people, right? Okay, we could that's out of the way. But hey, because we're doing this for this reason, laying it all out there, it was just, and then like everyone in the lab is applauding that. Oh yeah, it was worth sacrificing 6 people to cure epilepsy, which is like that's again an interesting idea, but because it's just used here as a twist, it drains it of anything.
This is my kind of second most hated thing in the movie is monkeys.
Yeah.
Just put monkeys on the beach.
Just anything. Like there's
you could get people to volunteer for this.
Yes. Yeah.
They're like anybody that's on like a life sentence in prison, people that are like on their last legs of like, this is the worst way to do it. It's incredible. But also, and I'm not trying to do the, Mengele figured some science shit out. I'm not saying Nazi science is good, etc. But making this the big twist at the end that there are these villains that are about to get arrested, that guy's right. He's sacrificing like 6 people and they are going to save literal millions. Now, this is American talking in that we are sacrificed based on how much money it costs to save us. So maybe I've got like a cold, callous view of the healthcare system, but with slight tweaking, this shit is viable and literally the best thing that could happen to humanity. And fuck this movie.
Yeah, well, I think you're like the idea behind it, sure. The kidnapping unsuspecting people and murdering them, less so. Like you said, if there was a consensual thing here, fine.
Or throw some monkeys or whatever. I don't know what kind of apes are closest to us, like bonobos. Yeah. Get a bunch of bonobos that got seizure disorder. Like this is the entire point of this is that you get accelerated results, which is actually really brilliant. You just do that to other things. And secondarily, in a world where there's a beach that makes you old, you know what the most important thing in the universe to study would be?
The effects of drugs.
Well, no. Apparently, there's secondary magic in which not only is there a beach that makes you old, there's coral that disentangles you from the quantum field of the beach that you can swim through. This is the worst science experiment. Who the fuck are funding these idiots? I bet you this is the X company. This is Elon somehow. Yeah, the only way that could be this stupid, it's Elon.
Yeah. Yeah. If the movie ended there and you just found out that all this happened because of the evil machinations of this pharmaceutical company, that might leave you with something. But no. What happens is it turns out they escaped.
They don't want to give you nothing.
Yeah. They escaped. And one of the people that we learned at the very beginning that's staying in the resort is a cop. And they found a journal on the beach. They give it to the cop, and the cop makes some calls and gets everyone they were arrested. And subpoenas are going out to this thing. Sure, why not? And it's so like nice and neat. That just ties it all up in a bow, and everything's fine now.
The cop thing is so they're on an island in undisclosed whatever. The chances of him having any kind of jurisdictional thing is ridiculous. Also, apparently, I get that the little kid believes them that like they're now old. How do you in the course of a few hours convince a grown ass man who's a cop? I know all cops are bastards, but they can't be that stupid. Thinking, I'm 50, but I was 6 earlier, and then talking your aunt into that. The whole the denouement of this is like a 15% buff or no, what's it called? What's that thing where you like lose status in like role playing games? It's not a buff. What's the opposite?
A debuff?
Oh, I assume there was a better word. Okay, apparently. Yeah, it's like a 15% debuff on the film where it's like, if you had just ended with like, oh, it turns out it's a whole laboratory and then, you know, roll credits, 15% better, like immediately. But no, they had to do all this dumb shit at the end. And they had that stupid fat kid with the ciphers like, oh, look, get into my pocket. Fuck this movie.
Well, it's for how just like pat it is, like how just quickly they wrap it up. It just feels like the studio went, you can't end it like that. You got to make this fancy and, you know, make it happy. And they're like, okay, we'll just do that.
I wonder, because M. Night at some point had the epic blank check with Griffin and David seal of approval, where I don't think studios were saying fuck all to him. Yeah. This is probably past that, right? Like he's
I would think so, because he's had a few bombs.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like we said before, the most frustrating movies are the ones that are almost good, and like there's a lot of stuff here that would have been great, and it's really not. It's a bummer.
I want them to like redo the comic. I've not read the comic, but I want them to redo the comic by like someone better doing it, and then then we could talk about that. I'm gonna read that comic.
M. Night Shyamalan remake this movie in 20 years.
I mean, maybe he could just like stop making movies.
Well, maybe, but he's middle-aged now or whatever. But just I feel like having someone that's actually old do this and would be an interesting, like a look back on, the same way that you're getting these kind of career retrospectives from aging artists, like that would be a way to deal with that.
I bet you M. Night's in his 60s by now.
Could be. I mean, probably.
All right. So hard pass on this movie, unless you're watching it for a kind of
for your own podcast,
archaeological or like sociological, or your own podcast. But like if you're there for like a kind of deconstruction on what happened to a film and watching, like this is a 0% recommend as watching it as a movie. But if you're someone that like can watch a movie on a meta level and like see the things we are talking about and then probably much better things by smarter people, it might be worth watching. But like, this is not worth watching as this is an enjoyable piece of thing to put in front of your face. This is an interesting thing to dissect. This is what might be a benign tumor, and we're not sure. It's the size of a softball now.
It's connected.
Oh, by the way, is there a movie with Jack Nicholson and Brando?
Yes.
What movie is that?
It's called Missouri Breaks.
Oh, I've never even heard of it. Okay, I meant to look it up before. I forgot to.
Yeah, because guess what? When I saw it in the theater, I kept thinking about that. I'm like, what movie is that? Is that One-Eyed Jacks? No. What movie is that? Yeah, I never heard of it.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Harry Dean Stanton's also in it.
Fuck yeah.
And Randy Quaid. So it's a cavalcade of stardom.
Is Randy Quaid the one that thinks the Hollywood star fuckers are killing people?
Yeah, he's
he's the best. Yeah.
Real quick though, before we leave this entirely, it's not my recommendation for this week, but I do want to mention that you talk about like calling up their aunt and trying to convince them that they're, I'm 50 now, but I'm your 6-year-old nephew. Have you ever seen the movie? It's a documentary, Imposter, The Imposter.
I think I'm aware. Is that the one that the guy pretends to be the person's lost kid?
Yes.
And it turns out, I've not seen it. I've heard about it. Yeah.
It's a wild documentary, but this guy, and this isn't spoilers because this is given away like pretty much at the beginning, that their son has gone missing, and they get a phone call some years later from a guy with a French accent who's like, yeah, no, I'm your son. They like changed me. I got sex trafficked, and they changed the color of my eyes and all this stuff. And now I have this crazy accent, but I'm totally your son. And things like get even weirder. Worth checking out.
Oh, well, let's do proper. I mean, I take it your wrap up of old is don't watch it.
My wrap up of old is there's some interesting stuff here, but just it's not worth the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
I'm really sure we're reading some sexiness into this. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about things we've been watching that we recommend. John, do you have any of those?
Yes, The American Friend. It's a Wim Wenders movie with Dennis Hopper and Bruno Ganz. It's another one of those Ripley movies, like Talented Mr. Ripley. It's from those series of books by Patricia Highsmith.
Oh,
it's based off of Ripley's
I'm just
game.
in shock that Bruno Ganz is in a Wim Wenders movie. I mean, that's
wild.
It's hard for me to wrap my head around.
It was really beautiful to look at, but it was a fun movie, or I don't know, fun, but it was a really enjoyable movie. I like that. And then I also watched MacGruber, which I'd never seen before.
MacGruber fucking rules.
It's so funny. I love it. It's great.
I'm glad you bring up MacGruber because I watched a classic of 90s or maybe early 2000s comedy as well. I watched Dodgeball, a true underdog story. Motherfucker, that movie's funny. There's a bunch of humor that does nope, does not work in
Yeah.
2023. But boy, that movie overall is incredibly amusing. I was, big fan.
The only bit that I can't imagine would hold up is I mean, for sure, I'm sure there's other stuff, but Lance Armstrong. When Lance Armstrong gives him that pep talk, and then it turns out Lance Armstrong is a giant piece of shit.
Yeah, so Lance Armstrong just doesn't make sense now. But the main thing that jumps out is the Rip Torn character. You were still allowed to have like racist old guy characters.
Oh, uh-huh.
And there's a bit of that going on,
Sure.
like, you dodge faster than a Chinaman on blah, blah, blah. Like, that's not exactly, but like that kind of thing. And it doesn't work. My other recommendation, and stop me if I said this last episode, but I forgot when I got it. Did I talk about the Owl House?
No, I don't think so.
So Owl House is a Disney Plus show. And it is something, a lot of my kind of adult, like, hey, I grew up and had childhood trauma and PTSD, et cetera. Trying to like, figure out what I like in the world. And boy, do I like children's...
Yeah, I don't want to hear the end of that sentence.
This is so stupid. No. I was trying to make it real, and I just can't be real. So Owl House is like a really fun, like I would have loved it when I was like 11, and as a stilted adult, I really like it. It's basically this like introverted, doesn't get really along with the world little girl gets sucked into her closet, I think, and ends up in a magical world where she hangs out with the Owl Lady, who is this kind of brazen, doesn't give a shit, like smoky voiced like witch lady. And then the witch lady has a little pet that's the king of all demons, but it's like this incredibly adorable kind of, think of Gurr from Invader Zim. It's just a really cute, like very wholesome, but really well written show. The Owl Lady is played by, and I don't know the actress's name, but remember Dream On?
Of course.
On HBO.
With Brian Benben.
Brian Benben's wife on that show plays it. And because I think Malik or something is her last name.
Yes. Judy Malik. She was
something
on,
like that, but
she was on Just Shoot Me.
So I because we're about the same age, people that aren't 42-ish, boy, was Dream On, like, because occasionally there were boobs and it was like kind of a good show.
Yeah. How dare
we
HBO
all watched that movie.
bury that?
Yeah. So anytime I hear her voice, I'm like, I've got this weird, like, I could smell the moisturizer I was using.
Wendy Malik.
Wendy Malik. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Owl House.
She
like,
played
it's
Judith on Ben. On Dream On. That's why that's why I'm getting confused. His ex-wife was named Judith.
That's right. Yeah. It's just, I mean, if you're in the mood for like something cute, or if you have kids, it's like really fun. Yeah. Like it very much. John, I have a recommendation for you for next episode.
Do you?
Yes, I do. This recommendation comes from the deepest part of my soul. The part of my soul that I like to call the high evolutionary. I have nowhere to go from this. So we're going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh, good, because I didn't get the reference.
Do you not? I realize that the high evolutionary probably isn't that big of a villain that anybody in the audience, not anybody, but most people in the audience wouldn't pick up on. And then I didn't know how to recover from that. So I just, he's a guy. He evolves stuff. You'll meet him in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but he's been a steady villain in the Marvel comic books for, I feel like even when I read those like shitty 70s ones, when I ran out of shit to read in the 90s, he was still around.
Yeah, I mean, chances are I've just forgotten who he was because I was into that for a while and then I forgot.
Wait, would it help that he's a guy from space that wears purple?
No, because that could be Galactus. That could be...
Yeah.
Well, Thanos is purple.
Yeah.
So he probably shouldn't wear purple.
Yeah.
Although people think
purple
he's
space guy.
But no, I'm curious. I enjoyed the first one. Second one, significantly less so. But if third one's good.
I've seen the third one. I've actually watched it twice now. I don't know if I want to say I'm a big fan. I don't want to like I'll just say I'm a big fan. It does a lot of things that obviously James Gunn doesn't listen to our show, but like
what?
A lot of the critiques that you have made about Marvel movies, I feel like are ameliorated in this. Not all of them, but there's a lot of the shit that you bitch about, and but a lot of things you rightfully point out about Marvel movies. he kind of does better. And there's a lot of Marvel stuff that
I mean, like,
actually at this point I'm annoyed.
for not liking the newer Suicide Squad. I do, he's got a certain point of view, I should say, or like, for a certain voice that I think if that comes through, I'll be excited that a Marvel movie has personality. So
it has personality, and there's it's good stuff. Anyway, so yeah, let us watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's available on Disney Plus. I'm gonna call to arms to you people out there, since Twitter's basically dead. I'm on Blue Sky Social as Alex Bolin. If you're out there, come join me, because that's what I'm putting my money behind. I don't want to join Threads. Everything else is kind of dying. Maybe I'm going to keep updating our Twitter account or X account, but I don't fucking know. But the point is, if you want to keep in touch with us, maybe John has a thing he wants, whatever. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
What am I doing?
Like oh, no. In that, the social media norms that we...
Yeah, I'm not on Blue Sky yet, and it is not worth following me on Twitter. Yeah, I just get into arguments with people about local politics. It's dumb. But I should get over there eventually. Maybe I will.
Oh, whatever. I'll send you a Blue Sky invite. It'll be great. Okay, so we're going to catch up with you guys next time, and avoid those beaches that make you old. Bye.
Bye.